also from Mozilla Taipei office, as I believe the just briefly introduced. So I'm happy here to have the time to spend some time with you to give you a brief overview of Mozilla, what Mozilla is doing, and also our latest product offering, Firefox OS. I realize that there is no translation service, so English is also not my native tongue, so I will speak slowly. So for those who English is your native language, please bear with us. So there's some rules. Okay. So can guys in the back hear me okay? Could you use louder? Yeah, probably didn't. Okay, is this better? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm from Mozilla. So my understanding is most of you guys are very familiar with the web, and probably many of you are familiar with Firefox, but probably very few of you know about Mozilla. So at least this is the case in Taipei and also in US. So most people heard about Firefox and they used Firefox before, but very few people heard about Mozilla. So basically, we're a non-profit organization. We have both Mozilla Foundation and Mozilla Corporation. I come from Mozilla Corporation. So we're a non-profit organization with a clear mission to promote openness, innovation, and opportunity on the internet. So what we're very different from other companies is making money is okay for us, but we don't make money just to give back to shareholders. We don't have shareholders, because for most commercial companies, you need to increase revenue, you need to maximize your profit to give the biggest return to shareholders. But this is not the case for Mozilla. Mozilla is only responsible to Mozilla Foundation. So making money is okay, but our mission is not to make money. Our mission is basically to promote free, open internet. Another thing that Mozilla is very different from other companies is we have strong community, like most of you here. So with your support and help in the past decade, so we helped all together making the web a better place, a fairer place for more people to access. And so let's see a video with some Korean subtitles. So hopefully this can give you a clear picture of where we are.
The web is connected, open, safe. Design is a force for good. It will become something far greater. A living, breathing ecosystem in service of humanity. A public resource for innovation and opportunity. A place to build your dreams. But in those early days, like any ecosystem, the web needed nurturing. As it grew, users faced new challenges. Pop-ups, viruses, a lack of choice, walled gardens of content. The web was frayed, it was slow, complicated, scary. Users began to ask, is this it? Or could the web be something better? A small group of people, coders, designers, idealists, believed it could. They had an audacious idea that a tiny nonprofit and a global community could build something better and force new ideas and innovation onto the web. They called it the Mozilla Project. They began by making a new kind of web browser, what we know today as Firefox, and they made it a non-profit, so it would always put the people who use the web first. More than software, it was a platform that anyone could use to build on their ideas. The nuisances diminished. The foundations of the web we know today began to appear. Now, the web is a place where you can build almost anything you imagine. Mozilla and Firefox exist to help people everywhere seize this opportunity and to stand up for users in a world where choice and control are too often at risk. But what if Firefox was just the beginning? What if it was part of something bigger. From user privacy to Firefox mobile to apps and identity, we're pushing the boundaries of the web every day. And we're going beyond software. We're helping to build a generation of webmakers. We believe the web is a place where anyone can come to build their dreams. It's why we make Firefox. It's why tens of thousands of volunteers help build our products. It's why hundreds of millions around the world use our software. But most importantly, it's why we always put you first and stand up to those who don't. Millions know us for Mozilla Firefox, but we're about so much more. We're a non-profit fighting to protect the web we all love. Join us. We need your support.
Okay, so hopefully by this video, and especially with the Korean subtitles, you have a much clearer picture of what Mozilla is. The video was actually cut at the last part because basically the last part was asking for a donation. So okay, so here on this page, I listed some of the products that we make. Of course, there are many more. If you are interested, you can go look for them on mozilla.org/products page. The most significant one is, of course, I believe many of you know, the desktop browser. So Firefox browser is available on Mac, on Windows, on Linux, on a lot of many other platforms. And I believe most of you know, but maybe some of you are too young to know that actually the birth of Firefox was basically a bit more than 10 years ago when internet was just started. And Microsoft at that time, using both Internet Explorer and IIS, Internet Information Server or something like that, trying to lead the web into a very distorted way, to try to make it proprietary. So at that time, it was Mozilla who stood up to fight against Microsoft. And so we were fighting for a free, open, standardized browser. And after more than 10 years, I think we have already accomplished this mission. So you can see that even for the latest Microsoft Internet Explorer, if I remember correctly, actually starting from IE 10, they are very standard-based. So they are now very closely following the HTML standards. Maybe they are still doing some proprietary stuff, but they are now a very standardized browser. So this is basically one of the major accomplishments of what Mozilla has done with Firefox. A couple of years ago, we realized that the internet is not just on the desktop browser anymore. So more and more people are browsing the internet using their mobile devices. And at that time, the most popular platforms were iOS and Android. And for obvious reasons, we don't have Firefox for iOS yet. But we do have Firefox browser for Android. So this is a browser that you can get from Google Play Store, install on your Android device. And you can still have the similar great browsing experience with features like no tracking and also a lot of add-ons that you can have. But later on we found that having just a mobile browser on someone else's platform is also, again, not enough. But this not enough is different from, we have a different reason from others, which I will go through later on. So let me skip Firefox OS for now, because actually this will occupy the most of my time today. Then we have Firefox Marketplace. So basically this marketplace serves both desktop browser, Android browser, and the Firefox OS. So the apps on the Firefox Marketplace basically are HTML5 apps. So they can, most of them should be able to run on any platform, unless there are some specific ones that need to have specific layout. So they need to have different layout on different screen size and resolution. And later on, I will also give a brief introduction on what we're doing beyond mobile devices. So we have more form factors like smart TV. And they will also leverage the Firefox Marketplace. So one thing, Firefox Marketplace is very different from some other app store or marketplace in the market is. This is an open source one. It's not a, of course, Mozilla does host one, but any of our partner is free to take the code and call it on the marketplace. Okay. And also, we are not, as I mentioned, Mozilla is okay to make money but making money is not our main mission. So for paid apps, our revenue share should be a lot fairer and can be distributed to more partners. Persona is something like, so in the previous audio and previous video, I mentioned about identity. So I'm not sure about in Korea, but in many websites now, in addition to specifically sign up for that site, you also have the option to log in using either your Google ID or Yahoo ID. Persona is something like this. But the one big difference is signing up using your Google ID or your Yahoo ID or Facebook ID, actually, you're agreeing to give away your personal information to those companies, including that website and either Google or Facebook or others. But Persona wants to address this issue. We want to simplify the website login, but also keeping your information secure, intact, not being used by any other company. Actually, not even by Mozilla. WebMaker is actually a very special stuff that we make. So if you look from a technical point of view, it's kind of like a tool that helps you make web pages. But actually, during the process, it also tries to teach you about, for example, like the structure of the website and others. So this is not only a productivity tool, but also kind of like an educational tool to address the web literacy issue. Okay, so let me get back to Firefox OS. So I believe many of you probably would ask, now iOS and Android, those two platforms already cover like more than 90% of the market. So why do we want to do Firefox OS, especially if we're not here to make money? So before I go into more details, maybe let me try to play a video from our chairwoman, Mitchell Baker, and I hope that her words probably can give you some idea.
Mozilla's mission is to ensure that the Internet remains open, interoperable, and respects user sovereignty. We do this by building software that puts people in control of their digital lives, like Firefox. We do this by empowering a global community of people who volunteer to champion these efforts. Internet life is changing. We're connecting to more devices. We're living in apps as well as browsers. We're interacting with friends and followers and acquaintances. We can experience the web through a highly personal, highly customized lens. The challenges ahead of us are very real. Mobile platforms are more closed and more centralized than we've seen in decades. As individuals, we're losing the ability to act on the web without permission from large, centralized gatekeepers. We are all being tracked, logged, cataloged, monetized, and turned into products to be sold. We're seeing the universal platform of the web fragmenting back into multiple different worlds. As the internet experience is changing, Mozilla too is changing. The products and tools that we use to advance our mission are expanding and evolving. A browser is necessary but not sufficient. Equally important is expanding the number of people who understand our values and identify as Mozillians. Mozilla has both the challenge and the opportunity to expand our reach dramatically. We have the ability to bring our values to life in new ways. Embracing these opportunities means embracing change, embracing hope, and embracing determination. This is how we will continue to give people ultimate authority over their digital lives.
Okay, so there was one section in the previous video that currently most users, most of us, who are either using iOS or Android, we are now being tracked, being whatever, and also being monetized. So this is the part that we have the most concern. So a couple of years back, we looked at the mobile market, and at that time, Microsoft was still a relatively big player because Google and Android was just out. So you see that these all three companies, they all have a common point. So they all have an OS and a browser, but they're using it for different purposes. So as I mentioned earlier, 10 years back, the internet, Microsoft was trying to distort the internet into a different non-standard direction. And the purpose was just to sell more Windows and more iOS licenses. That's it. But now in the mobile world, as you can see that, so both for example, like Apple and Google, actually they want to close you into their ecosystem. They want to know your every move. So they can try to use every possibility to sell your information to someone who needs it. So we see this as a much bigger threat than the Microsoft Internet threat more than 10 years ago. So in 2011, July 25th, Mozilla announced the Boot2Gecko project. So basically, we want to create a new mobile platform that, I think the key thing is we want to preserve user choice here. So we think that, again, the web should be standardized. The web should not be fragmented and should not be dominated by two proprietary technology. Although that for iOS and Android, you always hear people say iOS is closed, it's proprietary, Android is open. But actually, from Mozilla's point of view, both are closed and proprietary because they are not using those standards. So in 2011, we announced the Boot2Gecko project, and later on, we renamed the Boot2Gecko project to Firefox OS. So here is the basic architecture of Firefox OS. So on the left side, you see, so the bottom here is the device hardware. So on top of hardware, an OS kernel and all those drivers needed to make the operating software to interact with the hardware. So this layer, we call it the GONC layer. So on top of the GONC layer is the, hopefully many of you know, the Gecko engine. So this is the rendering engine that powers our Firefox browser. So this is the web engine that we're using on Firefox OS. And we put this directly above the GONC layer. And with the API support, and on the top layer is the Gaia layer. So basically everything that you see, interact with, all those apps are in the Gaia layer. So later on when you get more familiar with the Firefox OS, you'll hear a lot about Gaia, Gecko. You probably will hear less about GONC because GONC is actually pretty low level and they're hardware related. And for most app developers, you don't really need to care about GONC. So what you really need to care about mostly is Gaia and also the Gecko because of the web APIs. So after this, let me give you a brief introduction of what we have done for Firefox OS in the past year and what we're doing now this year. So as I mentioned earlier, in 2011, Mozilla announced the Boot2Gecko project. But it was last year, Mobile World Congress, which was in February 2013, Mozilla announced that we changed the name of Boot2Gecko to Firefox OS, and we are announcing this OS officially into market. And actually, at that time, last year Mobile World Congress, there were several companies announcing new OSs. And if I remember correctly, that should include Tyson. But last year, only Firefox OS delivered. So we launched our first set of phones in 2013. There were 3 phone models: the ZTE Open, the Alcatel One Touch Fire, and the LG Firewall. And all three phones were using the Qualcomm chipset. They were launched in 15 markets worldwide by 4 international carriers. So you can see by the map here, so most of the countries that launched last year were based on Latin America and also in Europe. So Eastern and Southwestern Europe and South Europe. And actually, the user feedback was very good. So here are some photos from the launch events, and actually, the launch events are actually powered. Most launch events in those countries are we got great support from the Mozilla community there in those countries. So this is another thing different from other companies. So yeah, we still need to spend some marketing dollars, but not huge marketing dollars because we have strong community support. So these are, I cannot read it, but I believe it's probably Deutsche Telekom for Poland. This is either in the subway or some square. On the building, airport. And this is in Italy, when telephone, Italica launched the Firefox OS phone. So all these phones it was just the first round of Firefox OS phones launch. So 3 years ago, we look at the mobile market and think that platform probably there's only Android, iOS, Windows. Actually, 3 years ago, probably there's also BlackBerry. But now, with the launch of Firefox OS last year and the direction that we're moving, we're quite sure that Firefox OS, both Firefox OS and HTML5 will be here to stay, especially HTML5. We think that this is one big direction that most developers are very confident in. So now looking into this year, so what are we doing this year? This year we'll have more phones from the existing partners. ZTE, they will have a new phone called ZTE Open 2, which is quite similar to the ZTE Open they launched last year. This is a 3.5-inch half VGA device. And they also released a higher-end ZTE Open C. So this will be a 4-inch WVGA device, and both will be powered by the Qualcomm 8210 processor. Alcatel, which so far is our most aggressive hardware partner, after launching Alcatel One Touch Fire last year, they will release One Touch Fire C this year as a follow-up. This is also similar to ZTE Open 2. It's a 3.5-inch half VGA, like lower tier device. But later on, they will release Fire E, which is a 4.5-inch, if I remember correctly, 4.3 or 4.5-inch QHD device. It actually has a very good industrial design. I personally believe this can be a very attractive device in the market. And Fire E will be followed by Fire S, which will be an LTE device, a 4G LTE device. So this year, Firefox OS will have an LTE device launched in the market. They are also working on making a 7-inch tablet for Fire 7. This is very likely will be the first commercial Firefox OS. And all these, again, will be based on Qualcomm platforms, with the exception of Fire S, because of LTE, it needs to use the Qualcomm chipset 8926, and all other projects will be using the 8210 processor. Huawei, they just launched their first Firefox OS a couple of months ago. It's called the Y302. And so it was launched in Mexico. And many of you probably will ask, so what happened to LG? So LG launched one phone last year, and they are also working on a very cool phone this year. But due to, so everything Mozilla does is open, but some of the stuff that our partners are doing are confidential. So because of this part, I'm not able to share what LG is currently doing, but I can guarantee you that LG is currently working on a very cool Firefox OS phone. It will be launched in market. The target is by end of this year, but unfortunately not in Korea yet. But once that device is out, I personally believe it will be the best, coolest Firefox OS phone. So as I mentioned earlier, we not only work on smartphones, although currently most of the Mozilla resources are focused on smartphones. But actually, because of the nature of the openness, there are a lot of partners approaching Mozilla to work on some other platforms. So early this year, in January at CES, we made a joint announcement with Panasonic to put Firefox OS onto Smart TV. Actually, it was Panasonic already put Firefox OS onto their Smart TV. Yeah. So it's not Mozilla. So basically, Panasonic has almost done most of the work and then asked us to make a joint announcement. And now we're doing some further work to make sure that all those web APIs, those missing web APIs for the TV can be implemented in time for the new TV launch. Tablet, actually, Foxconn last year made an announcement with Mozilla last year for a tablet project, but for many reasons, both sides moved a lot slower than we expected. So now, early this year, we just made a joint announcement with both Foxconn and VIA So VIA is another lower-end CPU chipset vendor. So both are making tablets. So Foxconn tablet is a 10-inch one, VIA tablet is a 7-inch one. So we already have a tablet contribution program. So for people who are interested in making Firefox OS either apps or helping to work on the Firefox OS on tablets, you can look on the web for the tablet contribution program. So if you register and get selected, actually you can get a free tablet for development. So apart from TV and tablets, on the upper right corner is called VIA APC. So basically you can see it as something like a developer board like Raspberry Pi, but with a light casing, a book-like casing. So this makes the APC very convenient to take with you. And also actually they are launching this, so in addition to launching this as a developer board for Firefox OS, they're actually in some countries launching this as a very cheap first PC for browsing only. Yeah, so this is something that if you're very interested in not only in software but also in some hardware, probably this would be something that you would like to look at. I'm not going into the Firefox OS roadmap here, but basically our roadmap is all public on the wiki. But this year, the Firefox OS basically will add more features because we're new in the market. We just launched, our version 1 was just launched in the market last year. So we still have a pretty big feature gap to fill, that's for sure. But this year, we will make a UI interface change. So this change is not only visual change, but also the user interaction model change. So the navigation feature here on the upper right, the navigation is not about GPS navigation. It's about the user interaction. So the interaction model, there will be some slight changes. We want to make it more consistent with the workflow that we're having. And as all the UI stuff are, most of them are implementing HTML5, so the customization should always be a lot easier than other platforms. And last year, we already had a special partnership with Anything.me. So on our home screen, you can actually easily look for apps, and you can run them directly without installing them. So in addition to the 15 markets that were launched last year, we're actually targeting to launch in more markets. So we will still focus on launching in more markets in Latin America and Europe including Western Europe. But we also have a strong target to launch in India and even Africa this year. And there's a small team working on, we're also looking at China. But China, we're being more cautious because China is a very complicated market. So here are some of the partners that we're working with. They include mobile operators, chipset vendors, device manufacturers, and some distributors. And for Marketplace, now we have more than 3,000 apps for Firefox OS. Well, this is still small, but I think this is a challenge that every new mobile platform need to face. But we're very happy. So this year we have the biggest, my personal view, the biggest addition is the Line messaging app. So we don't have the official WhatsApp app yet, but we do have some clones in Firefox OS Marketplace that can already connect to WhatsApp. And now with the addition of Line, we think that this can be a very compelling alternative for Firefox OS phones. And I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Cordova or the PhoneGap product. But earlier this year at Mobile Congress, Mozilla also announced that the PhoneGap will support Firefox OS. So if you're using this tool, so you can easily convert your existing apps from whatever platform to Firefox OS, turning into an HTML5. In addition to our hardware partners that are launching the phone in market, selling to mobile operators or retail, this year we're also doing something first time. We're building a reference phone. So the reference phone, they may run into some problems. Then they can try to run the same thing on this developer phone, and to see if they can reproduce this issue on this phone as well. If the issue is still there, then very likely this is more Firefox OS issue. But if the issue only happens on the partner's phone, but not on this reference phone, so then more likely that issue is caused by partner's representation. So this is actually one of the main purposes of this phone. But we will also make this phone available on the internet for anyone who is interested to purchase it. And this is based on the Qualcomm 8210 chipset. And you have 1 gigabyte of RAM, but it has a tool that you can easily adjust the available RAM to like 512 or 256 megabyte. It has NFC, dual SIM, dual standby, quad band UMTS, almost everything that you want. With the exception of LTE. Okay, so what I mentioned was mainly for like adding more features, making Firefox OS more mature, so it's our go-up strategy. But getting back to Mozilla's mission, actually we want to promote free open internet. So we want to get as many people get onto the internet as fair and as easy as possible. So we want to bring more of the world online. So this year at Mobile World Congress, we announced the $25 smartphone together with Spectrum. So Spectrum, basically, they're chipset manufacturer based in China. They're famous for providing lower cost solutions and also turnkey solutions. So not just providing the chipset and the BSP. They basically, so for example, like for Android, they provide the whole package, together with the board. Yeah, actually, they even provide you the reference board design, so they're not only selling their customer chipset, they're selling a board, an almost ready solution, together with software. So their customers only need to do some light customization on the software and they can ship. So the common case that I heard from Spectrum is their customers normally get code from them and ship devices within 2 weeks. So this year we're working with Spectrum on 2 platforms. One is the 6821, which is a lower end edge platform, and also on 7715, which is a slightly higher end 3G platform. So as I mentioned, all the devices that I mentioned earlier were all based on Qualcomm platforms. We started this year. We'll also have Spectrum platforms. So the $25 smartphone will be based on the Spectrum 6821 chipset with 128 megabyte of RAM. And very likely we'll have a 3.5-inch Cat VGA screen and Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, FM radio available. Yeah. And depending on the retail price, the camera can go like up to 2 megapixels or can be as low as VGA. So basically that's it. So this is an overview of what we have done and what we are doing this year for Firefox OS. And I'm not sure if I have some time if any of you have any questions.
We just noticed in the internet that actually some guys were unboxing APC already in China. So how is it available globally? Can we buy this reference board and start developing?
APC, if I remember correctly, actually it is available online. So the website apc.io, if I remember correctly, and I believe we can order it. But actually, specifically for Firefox OS, I'm not sure if they're still running it, but a couple months ago, they were posting bugs and asking for community members to help to solve those bugs. And if you solve bugs, then they will send you a free PC.
Yes, I wanted to know the low-cost project. The name is the Tarako project. What time is the launch time for it?
This is a very sensitive question, but the standard answer is as soon as possible. We hope that we can make it launch in market in the first half. But both Spectrum and the partners are pushing us to launch yesterday. Right, so the whole team is still working very hard on some last minute fine tuning. So it will definitely be launched this year, but this year is definitely not our goal. First half this year is our goal. And the target market will be definitely not in countries like Korea, Thailand. It will be more like India, Indonesia first, or Africa. Are there any other questions? Thank you very much.